Hello and welcome. This is our weekly review program, and as usual, we bring to you major events over the week. And I'm Gomechisa Mendida, joined by my colleague Brahanet Adessa.
This has been a wonderful week, to be honest, and we have to review what has been throughout the week.
Yeah.
And we can begin especially talking about the Prosperity Party.
Yes.
And there was an election that happened during the second Congress of the Prosperity Party. Then we'll talk about that, and we'll also be talking about the 38th African Union. It's just around the corner, and we'll also see rallies in Addis Ababa and Mekelle. I think begin from the election that took place this week, and that is Prosperity Party. Yeah, right. I think the biggest one will be the Congress itself, because it was seen in even electing the president. And the deputy will be even one of the biggest, because in the second Congress, as you already mentioned it, there were many guests even invited to our country, to Ethiopia.
Yes.
And Addis Ababa has been really busy welcoming all the guests. And during this event, the Prosperity Party elected president, and that is Dr. Abiy Ahmed, and with significant number of votes. And the Congress, of course, in its third day, and also elected Tamaskin Turuna and Adam Farah as the vice president of the party.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, of course, the Congress, resulted in key takeaways. Really, these issues that were raised were so important before we just go to, just the next step in the parties, just move. So decisions were made, and when this Congress was wrapped, it had re-election of the president and the vice presidents respectively. So key focus was, of course, strengthening the national unity, and especially again having this rhetoric or a kind of narrative, that can bring, nations and nationalities, peoples, together. And rather than, focusing on those narratives, just that would keep us, apart from one another, we need to focus on the narratives that can unite us. This was, of course, stressed during this Congress, and the Prime Minister and the two vice presidents, or the president of the Prosperity Party, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, and the two vice presidents, of course, they just gave their commitment to work so hard to bring about, just the kind of result that is expected from them as leaders.
It's really true. And one of the emphasis given by the party was, of course, the commitment, as you already mentioned it. It's all about improving the social and human capital, and prioritizing, of course, the development projects such as renovation, housing, infrastructure expansion as well. And the first, as you know, aim in this social cohesion, and of course preserving the heritage, that is cultural heritage, and improving, of course, the country's political and socio-economic landscape as well. So the PP, the Prosperity Party, also underscored its success in strengthening Ethiopian diplomatic relations, as we already witnessed it.
Focus of the Prosperity Party is not limited with what happens in the country, but also in the region and beyond. And so Ethiopia can sustain its development only when it manages not only the issues in the country, but also in the region and in the international stage.
It's really true. And I think that something that it has to be mentioned is the collaborative efforts right there as well, and the shared ideologies. If we're not sharing the ideas, then it has to be implemented, that if we have the pledge we made that should be put into practice, then it will be very easy to implement whatever is in mind, and the development will be throughout the country, I guess. So you were trying to mention before we come to the studio and telling us about the annual economic growth as well, and went up to 7%, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we can mention that as well. And
Yes.
the party, of course, reaffirmed its commitment to addressing the challenge, like that of you mentioned, the regional, continental, and global volatilities in the next 3 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
These are issues that we cannot escape unless and otherwise we deal with them properly. So unity and political dialogue, of course, the Ethiopian government has been dealing with groups of people, or say political activists in the country, charismatic leaders, okay, so that the government, attempted to identify the needs and the wants of the people for the last years. We can say, especially in the last, 3 years, the Dialogue Commission made, attempts to speak with, important people, influential people in the country.
Yeah.
And these are, of course, one of the efforts put by the Ethiopian government to ensure peace. So unity and political dialogue, civil service reform, and diplomatic and foreign relations will be, just the focus area of the Prosperity Party in the coming years, because these are important points. And Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, who is also the president of the Prosperity Party, emphasized the Congress's crucial role in shaping Ethiopia's future, highlighting the importance of evaluating progress, developing effective strategies, and electing visionary leaders across all sectors.
Yeah.
And recently, of course, Mayor Addis Ababa has also made, a report regarding performance of the city administration, where she said that, a lot has been achieved. So one thing that is worth appreciating regarding the Prosperity Party is that critical evaluations regarding the government's activities are made, okay, not only in one uniform or in one set or fixed manner or strategy, but in different ways. So this, will allow the government to identify, just the challenges and the progresses, that are genuinely made, which is, crucial to determine, the kind of move the government needs to make, in the future.
You also mentioned the international support earlier, and there were different kind of international supports when we had the ruling party Congress, and it was of course, it was for 3 years, and we can mention from the event which was held at the Adwa Victory Museum, and starting from Turkey, Turkey showed the support to the Prosperity Party, and we also saw, of course, Zafer Sirkaye, and that's on the occasion Turkey's Justice and Development Party, AK, Deputy Chairman Zafer Sirkaye, of course, emphasized the strong and enduring ties between Ethiopia and Turkey, and that is all about building mutual respect and shared vision of the regional stability. And we remember that Turkey played a role while you were trying to mention even the Ankara agreement.
Yes. Not only that, of course, officials from countries such as Tanzania, if we take, CCM, Chama cha Mapinduzi, this is, a sister party, and of course the representative was Emmanuel Nchimbi. He's the party's Secretary General, and of course he appreciated the moves that have been made by the Prosperity Party, and especially the election. The party, won the election 2021, and this was, he said, worth appreciating, and they want to kind of, partner with the Prosperity Party in order to ensure mutual benefit.
Yes, and even the South Sudan, by the way, that's Sudan People's Liberation Movement, SPLM, the party Secretary General, Peter Lamboth, praised the Prosperity Party for its effective governance and inclusive approach as well, and citing it as the model for other political parties as well. So the Secretary General, of course, highlighted Ethiopia's remarkable social, economic, and political and infrastructural development, that mostly what was observed in Addis Ababa, then they both acknowledge Ethiopia's support for South Sudan and mentioned over 632 scholarships provided this year alone. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mr. Peter Lam appreciated, Ethiopia's contribution for liberation of Sudan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we mentioned Tanzania. We went also to Turkey, and came back, of course, to South Sudan, and we don't have to forget, of course, the Djiboutian, of course, support.
Yes.
Then the Djiboutian People's Rally for Progress, that is RPP, the party Secretary General and Finance Minister, described Ethiopia as a guardian of stability and a champion of regional economic integration. And the Secretary General and the Finance Minister urged Ethiopia to continue its leadership in promoting regional peace and stability and economic transformation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this Congress, it allowed the government and the party to identify, the challenges, the opportunities, and the achievements as well. And so that from now on, the Prosperity Party has got, extensive experience regarding the kind of move it has to make in order to ensure what is needed, what is wanted, which is, development, prosperity, and improvement of lives for the citizens of Ethiopia. Yeah. One thing that's important here is the party and the government want to enhance these achievements in the next years. So we can say, just the sphere, okay, the horizon is set to be, to expand, okay, starting from, what has been done so far. The Prosperity Party and the Ethiopian government they want to scale it up, okay. Yeah. So in various scenarios, economic, political, culture, and all these have been really reflected, just during this particular Congress, and the Prosperity Party is making use of the experiences or the latecomer advantage that have been, observed so far. Yeah. So we do hope that this particular Congress will really bring about, just the changes that we all desire. Yeah.
The Congress went well, and what we're expecting to go well as well is the summit. And it's just around the corner, the 38th African Union Summit. Every African is expecting, of course, eagerly waiting. And that's why all eyes are turning to Addis Ababa, to the capital city of Ethiopia.
Yes.
It's not only Africans, by the way, waiting for this day to come. And many regional, even intergovernmental and other nations are waiting for this as well. And even the Europeans and other continents are really welcome to Addis Ababa. And that's because we are about to observe our African Union, and we all want Africa to be united as well. That's why we are so eager to have the 38th African Summit, and Addis is ready.
Addis is ready. Yeah. Brahane, by the way, the Ethiopian government has been dealing with, the preparations quite for months now, maybe a year now, I can say. Ever since, the date for this summit was announced back in the year or last year, the Ethiopian government has been making all the preparations, and even it is making now these preparations. Yeah. And African Union's Agenda 2063 is the main theme here, or the main agenda, really. Well, 2063 is quite far from now, isn't it? But we can see that despite, of course, there are many years ahead of us to come to this year. We still have got, a lot of accomplishments we need to make in all these years. So I do hope that, just this particular summit will bring in, all the necessary ideas, infrastructures, resources, people together, okay, to converge them, so that, they'll be able to devise strategies, policies that will allow us to be really a global powerhouse by then.
Yeah, it's true. And Addis Media Network will be, of course, broadcasting every program regarding to the 38th African Union Summit. And we are all waiting for the outcomes. And the outcomes of this summit could, of course, set transformative tone the regional collaboration,
Yes.
and of course sustainable development. And this crucial in addressing both current and forthcoming challenges Africa is facing. And we said all eyes are turning to Addis. It's because the hope is that this summit, of course, will bring an era of renewed commitment and collaborative spirit among African nations.
This summit, will have a theme, which is justice for Africans and people of African descent through reparations. Well, this has got, many things.
Yeah.
If we start with, justice. Why justice? There are, three things mentioned here: colonialism, slavery, and apartheid.
Yeah.
They just, posed huge damage during, just the last century, we can say.
Yeah.
And the consequence of that, or the implication of colonialism, slavery, and apartheid, they are eminent and they are observable, they are around us. This summit will go by the theme justice for Africans and people of African descent through reparations. Okay? Justice is sought in this summit, and this is, because colonialism, slavery, and apartheid, were big problems that had, repercussions. Okay, even though we don't actually have, colonialism, slavery, and apartheid directly these days, we are, of course, affected by the consequences. Of course, we can mention, neo-colonialism, and neo-colonialism, has been practiced on African nations.
In one way or the other.
In one way or another. You can say a few things on that.
Well, it's really crystal clear that we can see it in different ways. Like people, when they say they're being colonized, it doesn't mean that the other parties come to your country and put all the affairs they need. But at this time, there's a modern kind of colonization, and we can see it in different ways. It could be through reading, it could be through kind of movies and films as well, right?
Yeah.
There could be even documentaries being sent to you that you feel like you are wrong to do whatever is you are doing here. So the colonization we're expecting to come doesn't have to be only when other parties come and control you. So it's good that we are aware of our continent. We are aware of that what we have, the resources are enough here. And we can also just even share it to other continents as well. We're not saying that we all need it here. We can do it in other ways. But it doesn't mean that other nations should come to Africa only to use us. We're saying let's share what we have here. And they can share whatever is there as well. So the point most people miss, I guess, is the colonization days are not gone yet. So what we have to be aware is that it's good that we take care of the education we have at hand, the people we have at hand, and we still can have enough world to the whole people we have. It's not only for Africans, by the way. Africa could be also for others. Europe could be for others as well. So we have a beautiful world to everybody. So we don't say that the Antarctica is only for people who research only there. Anybody can go and visit, and other nations can come to Africa as well. So the point that we are like against the colonization is wrong, because we are not just only tying our hands here and waiting for somebody to feed us. We need to work hard. I think that's all the question we are talking about mostly when we mention the stability. Once we're stable enough, we are even enough. We have enough resources, as you already mentioned before. You can mention Congo, by the way. Congo could feed the whole continent, not only the whole continent, it could also feed the entire world, as long as they have the peace and stability. And we can mention other nations as well. But what we need in Africa, and what has to be addressed at the African Union, is let's bring the peace first. Let's bring the stability first. Let's bring the justice first. And Africa, my Africa, will be enough, not only for Africans, for everyone there.
Absolutely, Brahano. Yeah. You just mentioned a very good point. Fightings, conflicts, can be avoided, provided that, democratic systems are employed. We lack, democratic, systems in Africa, in many parts of Africa. If we can say all, in many parts of Africa, we lack, democratic institutions. And so it has to come, it has to emanate from the needs and the wants, and of course the ideology of the people. And if Agenda 63 should be successful, we need to establish, democratic system across the country, and we need to have, peace, stability, and then we need to work, collaboratively with the rest of the world in order to allow us to use, our resources. And of course, one big problem with colonialism or neo-colonialism is that these advanced nations, they want only raw materials or resources from Africa. They add value to them and they send it back to Africans, selling us, with higher prices. And that has to be, compromised. That has to be minimal. And Africans, should learn how to use, their own resources. Okay. One thing that we need to mention is that, institutions or governments in Africa should not be puppets of the advanced nations. They have to work for their people. They need to have, love of their people, love of their country. They need to have, the commitment required to realize, of course, the theme that is supposed to be, entertained during this summit. And we cannot say that it is going to be, an easy thing to deal with. There are, challenges, a lot of challenges that need to be brought to the table and scrutinized, so that, solutions can be brought to the table and then, dealt with accordingly. We have statements made by Ethiopia's Deputy Permanent Representative to the African Union, Nabi Tedla, for example. He emphasized the significance of the upcoming summit and highlighted the country's extensive preparations. Of course, the country has been prepared for a year now, ever since, the date for the 38th summit was announced. The country has been, making the necessary preparations. We can say in terms of infrastructure, in terms of, bringing in, just all individuals and institutions that have relevance to this summit. And Ambassador Nabi emphasized Ethiopia's full readiness to host a productive and impactful African Union summit.
You mentioned wonderful points, and we're hoping that Addis of course, Addis is ready to welcome all the participants at the African Union Summit, and everybody's welcome. Everybody is welcome.
Well, the main point here mentioned by Ambassador Nabi Tedla is that, of course, guns will be silenced, okay, and economic development across the continent, will be enhanced. But one thing that we cannot forget is, of course, this African continental free trade area that has significance for the continent's, economic integration and development. This includes connecting, countries in trade, African countries in trade. You might have seen, just the map. A road, main road, stretches from North Africa down to South Africa, and other countries, just will connect, just their roads, interconnect them. So they will have, blocks like, East African bloc, maybe North African, Central African, Southern African blocks. All these, when they are economically, integrated, the kind of economic development that we wish or we look forward for Africa will be realized. And the African Union Summit, the 38th, will be entertaining, all ideas, policies, strategies, that will allow us to attain, just this goal.
Right. So we'll see that in the coming week, and Addis Media will be, of course, airing the programs we have, different interviews, and we'll witness that as well.
Exactly. Brahana, when such global summits take place, anywhere in the continent, of course, they will have economic, significance for the citizens. And of course, when guests, come to Addis and stay here, just that will create, more revenue for our country. And Addis Ababa's recognition globally will also be enhanced. And that is, a great opportunity for our country. Yeah, I think the third is rally in Addis Ababa organized by ethnic Tigray youth. I think this is very important. Peace, as we always say, is the fundamental element that we need to ensure when we talk about economic development, when we talk about democracy. Peace is, something that is priceless.
Talking about the peace, and peace, of course, has to be sustainable. And we're talking about the rally in Addis Ababa organized by Tigrayans who live in Addis Ababa. And they were asking, of course, for sustainable peace. They need peace, of course, because there was war a couple of years ago, and these rallies are mostly asking for the peace in Tigray, because the Tigrayans have been through a lot, and they are asking, enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Yes, enough is enough. Because war is not going to help any person, any country, or a continent itself. So it's not only the peace for Tigrayans, it's peace for Ethiopians, it's peace for Africa, and peace for the entire world.
Exactly.
So the question here is, it's not only the peace, but they are also asking for sustainable peace, so that you can focus on your development, you can focus on other areas like that of education. If you want to talk about technology as well. If you don't have peace, then what do you have?
Infrastructure development as well. By the way, the country has lost a lot. A lot of resources, lives, have been lost in the Northern War in the last, say 3-4 years. And so not only the Tigrayan youth, but the rest of the country's youth, say people in general, are seeking, peace badly, and we just want it to be sustainable. And of course, all parties, all political parties, are expected to be humble enough to come to the table and negotiate to ensure that peace prevails in the country.
Because they're working for the people. And if you need to lead the people, you need peace as well. So that has to go through. Even this different kind of question is one of the things you can do is through rally, and the youth, of course, call for a firm commitment to peaceful initiatives aimed at fostering stability and progress. And the participants, of course, highlighted that peace is crucial for the prosperity of both the Tigrayan region and the people in general. And the collective commitment to lasting peace was clear as they rallied together, voicing hopes for a brighter future.
Brahana, I think time limits us here. We do hope that viewers have got interesting points.
Hopefully, because there were different issues entertained throughout the week, and we mentioned the Prosperity Party election, the 38th African Union Summit, and we said that all eyes are turning to Addis Ababa, and we mentioned, of course, Agenda 2063, and we said that preparations are underway, and we also mentioned the rally in Addis Ababa and other diplomatic issues, and it was really wonderful to have you, Gamachisa.
You too, Brahada.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Viewers, thank you very much for watching our program, which ends right now. Next time we'll come up with similar issues. Until then, goodbye.